Melanie Sloan with Citizens for Ethics and for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, CREW, citizensforethics.org, the website. The executive director, Melanie Sloan, welcome back to our program.
Oh, it's nice to be with you.
Do you know if there has ever been a time in America's past? I know when Jack Kennedy came into office in 1961, there had never been more than 17 prosecutions of organized crime in the United States in 1 year in history. And he prosecuted over 700 in his first year. His brother Bobby was nuts. They went after the mafia. Up until that point, J. Edgar Hoover was denying that even the mafia existed because he was being blackmailed by Trafficante and Marcello. Were there any instances of newspapers around the United States owned by the mob at that time?
I don't know. I've never heard that they were involved in the media.
But aren't we looking right now at something very similar to that? I mean, an organized crime syndicate, basically, that owns newspapers. Or am I being hyperbolic here?
Well, I think you might be a little hyperbolic. I mean, I certainly think there are plenty of tough things one can say about the News Corporation and Rupert Murdoch, and it's clear that they do control much too much media, both in Britain and here. And I think that I think in Great Britain they are particularly seeing the consequence of letting one of the media conglomerate, and I think this is something Americans have been concerned about for a long time, the disappearance of newspapers, the disappearance of competition, so that one voice has just sort of an outsized voice.
Right. Well, and in the UK, what we're learning is that not only has Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation committed it's alleged right now, but
they've clearly committed crimes.
Okay.
I think that's not too hard.
Yeah, there have been some serious arrests. They have committed crimes. You have newspapers that were actually criminal enterprises, but although I suppose the crime was to try to sell more newspapers, so maybe it's a little different than the mob, but maybe not, because you had Tony Blair hopped on a plane and flew to Australia to get on bended knee in front of Rupert Murdoch when he decided that he was going to run for prime minister. Gordon Brown made a pilgrimage to Rupert Murdoch to ask his blessing when he was going to run for prime minister. David Cameron, the current prime minister of the UK, made a pilgrimage to Rupert Murdoch to ask for his blessing before he ran for prime minister. And in each case, when Murdoch conferred that blessing, and Tony Blair was the odd man out. I mean, I guess Brown was too. I mean, they weren't the hardcore conservatives. This was Labor. This was like the Democratic Party. Once they got the blessing, they got the office. And I wonder in the United States here how it's all that different. I know of no Republican candidates that could possibly win the Republican primary if they didn't have the support, at least the tacit support of Fox News, or who would definitely lose if they were opposed by Fox News. Or am I overstating that one too?
Well, I think that there are some districts where it weighs more heavily than others. I think Fox certainly plays an outsized influence in American politics, and I think it is something that we should be concerned about. We should also be very concerned about whether politicians here in the United States, like in Britain, have been afraid to criticize Murdoch because of what he might have on them or what he might do. And I do think we see politicians having a fear. You don't see politicians in America very frequently taking on Fox or taking on Rupert Murdoch. They are remarkably quiet, even in the face of really terrible things that Fox and untrue things that Fox broadcasts.
So what do we do about it? How do we prevent? In the UK, they're very clear about this. I mean, all these politicians are coming out and saying that even though they took not necessarily money, because that's not how it works so much in the UK, they took lots and lots of publicity, positive publicity, and support from Murdoch and his various newspapers, the Sunday Times, the Sun, the News of the World. That although they did that, they're walking back from it, and they're now willing to support an investigation into crimes committed by him. No politician in the United States on the right, who would traditionally be supported by Fox, to the best of my knowledge, has said anything like that. And for that matter, I believe, I looked at Media Matters this morning, to the best of my knowledge, Fox pretty much is not reporting on the scandal involving Fox.
Right. Fox isn't reporting on it, but let me also say there aren't really any progressive Democratic politicians who are talking about this either. I think right now this is viewed as a British scandal, not an American one, and I don't think most American politicians feel the need to take it on yet. I mean, there could be a lot of negative consequences for even Democrats if they said something about it. So I think they're waiting to see. But I do think if more evidence comes down that these journalists were engaged in this kind of tactics on American soil, whether it was British journalists or American journalists, I think you will see politicians starting to speak up, because Americans will be outraged if it turns out, as a tabloid in Britain alleged yesterday, that News of the World at least attempted to break in to hack the voicemails of victims of the 9/11 attacks.
Right, here in the United States.
Here in the United States.
So, to the best of my knowledge, there's no gatekeeper on the left. I mean, if you have union support, it might be easier, but there's a lot of kind of blue dog anti-union Democrats in the House and the Senate. But on the Republican side, there's a very clear gatekeeper. If Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and Fox News in general do not support you, you probably are not going to win an election. Do I have that right? And how destructive to democracy is that? Or for that matter, how destructive is it to the Republican Party? We have just a minute left, Melanie.
I think it is hugely destructive to American politics in general that a broadcast entity that often doesn't tell the truth has such an outside influence. And I think American politicians need to be worried. They don't want to end up being as humiliated as their British counterparts, who are now so embarrassed by being in bed with Murdoch all those years.
But shouldn't they be humiliated by the fact that Fox is a gatekeeper right now here, regardless of whether it's criminal?
Sure, absolutely. And I think they may come to regret that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think that the American public understands this, and we need to get it out there, and people can learn more about it by going to citizensforethics.org and checking out the website of Citizens Crew, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Best website, Melanie?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Melanie Sloan, the Executive Director, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And for the great work you're doing.